we met some really good people along the way. I mean, a song called Pictures in the Sky was produced by Keith Relf, who was the singer in the Yardbirds, who are one of the most important bands in the history of rock and roll, you know, globally, not just in the UK. Not only because of the three amazing guitar players, Clapton, Beck, and Jimmy Page, but there's something phenomenal going on there, but also because of what they were. They kind of represented probably a more roots idea of British translation of the blues back to the USA, probably even more than the Stones, who I love. I love the Rolling Stones. And I'm so happy to see them going now. I mean, they're all a force of nature as far as I'm concerned. And
Yeah,
bless you, Charlie, you were too, man.
absolutely.
Yeah, and it's phenomenal. But the Yardbirds had a special kind of place because they opened the doors up for so many more experimental bands. And I think, you know, Jeff and Jimmy particularly, they were very instrumental in you know, influencing people like Frank Zappa, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Frank, Keith said to me once, he was in some airport in the USA going somewhere, you know, as it was in those days, any days on tour, actually.
Yeah.
And Frank Zappa came up to him and said, you know, how does it feel to have started all this? You know, and Keith was such an unassuming, gentle guy, you know, really unassuming fella, beautiful soul, you know, and he didn't know what to say, but it meant a lot to him, you know, in order for him to repeat it to me. So,
yeah,
but that's the way it is. I mean, that's it. When I worked with Jeff on the reformed Yardbirds in the 80s, which we called Box of Frogs for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
Then, you know, talking to Jeff was just like, wow, you know, those days. And he just wanted to talk about it. And I mean, look at him. I mean, he's probably revered as the most innovative guy. But if you talk to him about Jimi Hendrix, he's like a little boy, you know, who's done nothing at all. It's so self-effacing, you know.
It's kind of nice, really, isn't it? The way it kind of spins around, because Keith Richards, you could argue Keith Richards, you know, and the Stones were obviously very heavily influenced by the blues, you know, stuff. So it kind of continues spinning around, doesn't it? In terms of musicianship, John, I don't know whether you've got an opinion, and you've kind of covered it a little bit, but alluded to it. You know, do you think musicianship is it sort of something which is no longer sort of matters, you know, in this age of kind of, you know, auto tune and, you know, kind of digitalization and everything? It seems, I mean, if I'm watching a program like Sky Arts, you know, BBC Four, I see these programs and they can all play their brains out. You know, the musicians in your era that, you know, you've been involved with, just stunning musicians. And it just seems that these days we seem to take the notion of musicianship for granted. Is almost secondary to the manufacture of the chart fodder, you know.
Well, I think, you know, musicians don't really get involved with too much with things like that, you know, like with auto tune and all that stuff. A musician wants to be the person who played that, wants to be the person who sang that, not the person who's not that, you know. That's why Warriors of Love, you know, it really means, you know, I believe in freedom, I believe in truth, because that's not the truth. It's a recording technique, but it's not the truth.
Yeah.
So a musician wants to be true, wants to play his instrument in truth. A singer wants to sing in truth. They don't want to be manipulated by some, you know, plug-in on a track, and they want to sing in tune. You know, they don't want to sing out of tune and get auto tune. It's not the way a musician thinks. But somebody who's trying to maybe make some hit records or whatever is not really interested in a life of music. That's the way it goes. But it's always been the same. So I don't decry them. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah, I don't mean that at all in the kind of, you know, an old man's kind of patronizing kind of demeaning way, but I just think it goes back to something you said earlier, I think, about, you know, kind of looking at the limo, you know, looking at the limo before they've kind of, you know, before they got a pair of roller skates, you know. It's more about now, isn't it, than the future, you know.
Well, as Keith Richards said as well, you know, let me walk before you make me run, you know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, you know. Yeah.
You said you haven't read a book for years. You haven't read Keith's book, either of you, because
yeah, I have. I lied.
Yeah, that's a fantastic. That's a fantastic book. If there was one person in the Stones, I would, you know, I just he'd be the one. Keith would be the one I'd love to meet. I don't know why. He just captivates me, you know.
Yeah, and you got to say it. I mean, he's just an open-hearted guy.
It comes across so well, doesn't he? So nice and, you know, almost childlike in his admiration of other musicians.
That's it. He'll tell you the truth. This is it. You know, it is that. He'll tell you the truth. He doesn't want any sort of candy cotton crap. You know, just tell me the truth.
Well, you know, he's done everything, hasn't he? So, you know, yeah, he doesn't have
it's
to.
A bit like, you know, when John Lennon wrote "Give Me Some Truth." You know,
yeah.
Keith's a lot like that. You know, he doesn't want any bullshit.
Looking to the future, John, I guess you're writing all the time. What do you have any kind of plans now for what comes next? Is it all about, you know,
it's in process? Yeah. The next lot of, well, I didn't stop recording when I finished that album. You know, I chose those songs from a bunch of songs. So I'm very lucky, really, to you know, have had the opportunity to keep going. You know, not everything's brilliant, so it gets booted, you know, off the field. You know, like I say, just be available. That's what you were asking me earlier on. Be available to ideas. They're not all going to be amazing, you know, but give them a chance and see if they can blossom and grow into something. And that's really important, you know, to do and to be.
And if people want to hear more of your stuff and find out more about you, or, you know, where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, I've got a website called medicinehead.rocks, ROCKS, not .com or .co.uk.
Okay.
Rocks. So
right.
you can go there.
Brilliant. John, thanks ever so much. Really good to talk to you. And thanks for your time, and good luck with everything. And if you want to promote anything or send anything across far away, it would be great.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you. We finally got this this interview, whatever it is, together. I apologize for being a bit.
No, not at all. I totally understand. I'm really glad we got the chance to chat.
Magic.
Thanks,
Give
John.
my love to South Wales, because I love it there.
All the best. Look after yourself.
Take care.